Brutor Agent Skills, Governance. Part 2, Setup and the Guardrails on the Everyday Run. In Part 1, we watched an end user simply ask for a skill in the portal. Now we go under the hood, configure a skill, decide who can run it, and watch the gateway govern every call on the wire. We start with configuration, the skills themselves, the group and keys that reach them, and the guardrails and policies bound to that group. Then the live demo on the command line, discovery, the golden path, and input and output guardrails. Start with the skills themselves, the catalog the gateway hosts, shown here as a list. 3 will govern revenue report, customer follow-up, and customer refund, the high blast radius one. Let's open customer refund from its row menu, view. A skill is really a few things. Basic info, its identity. Access control, who's allowed to run it. The skill.md, the prompt and instructions the model follows. And the scripts, the sandboxed code that actually runs. Notice the header, published, version 1.0. A skill has to be published as a version before anyone can run it. A draft stays invisible on the wire. Now, who can run them and under what limits? Skills are resource group resources, the same primitive as models and MCP servers. Open the sales group, resources skills. Here are the skills the sales team can run. And this is also where you set limits and policies per skill. Each row has 2 controls, a limits gauge and a governance shield. Open customer follow-ups limits, a daily execution cap of 2. And customer refunds governance, execution mode. Here, approval required. The key that turns a caller into this group lives under API keys. You use a key defined here to reach a skill from an SDK or a chat client like Goose. And to run a skill from the Brutor portal, you add the users who should have access under members. The guardrails, governance, guardrails, the skill, PII per surface config, enabled for sales. Look at the surfaces column. This control is scoped to the skill surface. Open it and go to surfaces. What makes it a skill control is right here, skill input and skill output. On the way in, PII is blocked before the skill runs. On the way out, it's redacted. Same detector, 2 directions, 1 per surface switch, bound to the group. So every skill sales runs is covered. And the argument policy, the one that makes a skill can run SQL, safe. Governance, argument policies, revenue report, read-only. Open it. On general, the surface is what ties this policy to skills. Skill execution input. The tool it applies to, revenue report, and the argument key it inspects, query SQL, and the analyzer SQL. Instead of a blunt string match, the gateway parses the argument as SQL and reasons about what it does. Access control decides who the policy binds to. And the rules are the verdict. Deny if the statement writes, deny multiple statements. A select passes, an update, a delete, a drop is refused. Everything's configured. Now the wire. Between the trigger and the trigger pull sit these checks. Per group access, then input and output guardrails. We'll run each call, then open its audit row right after. The golden path first, the everyday run that just works and is governed anyway. A sales caller discovers the skills they're allowed, then runs the read-only report. Here's the whole picture in one frame. 1 skill, unmodified, 4 outcomes. The golden path returns its result. The same call from a team without access is denied. And with guardrails on both sides, PII is blocked on the way in and redacted on the way out. Same skill, 4 verdicts. Everyone governed, everyone on the record. So, let's go live. Everything from here runs on the real gateway, and the self-hosted trial runs the very same stack on your own network. Here's the wire. First, discovery, and this is the heart of the model. Skills are reached over MCP. A sales caller asks the agent skills server for its tools, and notice what comes back. Not skills, but 5 generic verbs. List, load, read resource, run script, render template. The skills themselves are never tools. To find them, the caller calls skills_list, and the gateway returns only the skills this group is allowed to run. You can't discover a skill you can't call. Now run 1. Progressive disclosure means 2 steps. First, load. The caller calls skills_load for revenue report and gets back the skill MD instructions and a manifest of exactly what it may run. One script, run py. The model never sees the code, only what it's allowed to do. Then act, skills_run script, runs run py in Brutor's sandbox with a read-only query and returns just the output. The revenue summary. Load, then act, each a separate governed call. And here it is on the record. System logs, proxy logs. Open the run. Skills_run script, the governed call to the agent skills system server. The request body is exactly what we sent. The response body is the revenue summary that came back. The client IP, the correlation ID, and the compliance chips this sales workspace stamps. The whole call, on the record. Access is per resource group. The same load with the ops key. Ops was never assigned revenue report. The gateway refuses it. Access denied. The skill is not available to your group. And skills_list proves why. Ops sees a different catalog entirely. Revenue report simply isn't in it. Ops authenticated fine. They just don't have this skill. The refused call is on the record too. Open the refused load. A 403, the reason stamped right there in the error message. The skill isn't available to the group. The request body shows exactly which skill was attempted. And because this is an access control refusal, it carries a SOC 2 policy denial tag. The block itself is the evidence, and it counts in governance. Input guardrails. A sales caller runs the follow-up skill, but drops a customer email into the arguments, while the skill input PII check is set to block. The gateway stops it before the sandbox runs. Skill input blocked by guardrail, PII. The script never executed. It never saw the email. Block here is an air gap. The script can't leak what it never receives. The guardrail block, on the record. Open the blocked call, 403, and the error message says it plainly. Skill input blocked by guardrail, PII detected. The request body captures exactly what was attempted. The note with the email that tricked it, with the skill and the group. The script never ran, and the audit row proves it. Same checks. The other direction. A clean note goes in, but the skills draft comes back with a contact email in it. On the skill output surface, the PII check is set to redact, so the gateway scrubs it. The email becomes a redaction token. Block stops the run. Redact lets useful work through, while scrubbing what shouldn't leave. Same skill, 4 outcomes. And the redacted run, logged. Open the call skills run script, and the response body recorded here is already scrubbed. The email is a redaction token. What's audited is what actually left the gateway. Same skill, 4 outcomes, everyone governed, everyone on the record.